Now, the time now is 8 minutes past the hour of 12 o'clock. My lunch break guest today is author and former Brighton resident Lulu Allison. Lulu's latest book, Salt Lick, has just been published. The book has been described as a compelling fable of decline, a lament for a way of life, and a warning about what society is already becoming. And I've got to be honest, I'm on to page 191 so far, where Bert and another girl, Cara, go for a walk to the stream. It's got me gripped, Lulu. It's got me gripped. Good morning, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Well, I'm really pleased to hear that.
How are you?
I'm very well. Yes, I am.
Uh,
I do want to say though, I think it's a much more hopeful book than that sounds. I'd like people to know that because, in the end, I do think that although everything's quite difficult and we do get so much wrong, there's always hope and there's always this kind of beauty in life. So just wanted to kind of rebalance the description a little bit with that.
yeah, because that's what's on the back, isn't it, of the book?
Yeah.
I guess I've got to ask you then. Should you have adjusted that? Then were you pleased with that?
Well, I think it's very insightful as well because it is quite in many ways quite an angry book,
Yeah.
but in the front I've dedicated it to my daughters, with the dedication that the future is beautiful because I always think, there's always light and dark, there's always nuance, there's always people doing beautiful things,
Yeah.
even as other people are doing their best to absolutely ruin everything,
Yes.
so it's I always think of humanity as being in this constant state of muddling along,
Yeah.
the good and the bad just kind of somehow rubbing along against each other, and
Yeah.
sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it just seems like absolute chaos.
Yeah, and I guess really in areas that is the life that we live in. But you're absolutely spot on to highlight that within interspersed between all of that, life can be beautiful.
Absolutely. Whenever there's a terrible thing that happens, you never have to look very far to see the people who are, reaching out their hands, they're kind of helping, they're giving, they're caring, and uh,
Yeah,
as individuals, the whole world is absolutely full of kindness and hope. As societies, sometimes it gets a little bit more dark.
yeah. Yeah, sorry, I'm just, you know what, I just really love the way, the way it starts. Water trickles through gullies in the brick, loosening bonds that have held the house together for nearly 300 years. Rain and sea meet in the crooks, the filigree channels. It's a lovely read. It really is.
Oh,
Were you
thank you.
really pleased with it, Lulu?
I was, yes. Funnily enough, the thing I always find quite difficult, I've only written two books. This is the second one. I kind of started writing
Well,
really
yeah,
unexpectedly, kind of by.
it was by chance, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Well, I started an art project. I'm an artist more, most of my life I've been an artist, and I started an art project that kind of, it required writing to make this project happen, and I just got completely hooked. And that project became my first novel, called Twice the Speed of Dark,
Yeah,
and this one was my second. And the thing I've always found difficult, maybe I really love the ideas and I really love the language and I really love the way subtle things can flex and expand and appear and disappear. But what I find really hard is the plot. And I kind of, I find it, I have to make myself work really hard at what's actually going to happen. And it, I found it quite difficult in a way because a lot happens in Salt Lake, it seems to me. But then you get readers who feel like not a lot happens at all because it's not necessarily terribly dramatic what happens. So I am really pleased with that. I'm really happy with the chorus. I think that really sort of worked well for me. And I'm so pleased with how people have responded to it. That's been an absolute joy and very unexpected because getting on the Women's Prize long list for
yes,
somebody at the time, I didn't have an agent. I'm published by brilliant publishers, Unbound, but they're an independent publisher, and so it was very unexpected. But what a treat for me.
Yeah, and they're an unusual publisher, aren't they? Aren't they like a crowdfunding publisher?
Yeah. So what Unbound do is they take the risk out of publishing non-commercial books. They publish literally on merit, because they don't have to make a financial decision about the books they publish. They can afford to decide they love a book, however unusual it might be, or however genre. They publish a really wide range of books.
Yeah.
And they take the risk out of it, because obviously publishing, like any other industry, is a very commercial prospect. So Unbound have a kind of artistic freedom in a way to take on more risky projects or more unusual projects. So as a kind of completely unknown artist turned writer, they were able to support my books because they weren't having to make a guess as to whether they'd be commercially successful or not. So it's a great model, and I think it serves a really important role.
And is that a good route then for, obviously there's lots of aspiring authors and writers out there who get daunted. It can be quite daunting trying to find a publisher who believes in your work. For any budding writers out there, is Unbound a great avenue to go down?
It certainly has been for me. I mean, I can't say that the crowdfunding is necessarily always easy. It's quite a weight. It's you feel like you're asking people for help, which isn't always the easiest thing to do.
Yes, yeah.
But by the same token, it's very uplifting to discover how willing people are to help. That's a lovely experience. But it can be a bit of a grind. I think most of us who've published our books that way have often felt, this is just endless. It's very difficult. Who can I bear to ask again? So it's not a doddle by any means, but it is a good way to work your way through into publishing, because they can support you without you already having a track record.
Yeah.
So definitely give them a try.
Yeah, and I guess for you, for not stumbling into writing, but obviously you started off doing art, and then this is your second book now. So then to be longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction for 2022, I mean, what an accolade that is, Lulu.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was kind of basically gobsmacked and didn't quite sort of know how to think about it, and it's almost like it's difficult to take things on as praise. But when I felt really proud was when I read some of the other books on the long list. To be in that company, really, that was the moment I felt really proud of what I'd achieved. Because there were some absolutely wonderful books on there, and it has been a wonderful thing. It's quite, again, I mean, I don't hate to sound like I'm sort of going, but there is sort of yeah, I'm going to do it anyway. There was a real strange sort of transition into being read by many more authors who come to my odd little books via the Women's Prize, and there were
Heidi James for one.
Sorry,
Heidi James for one.
Oh yeah. Well, she's been brilliant. She sort of talked me through my book launch. It was absolutely brilliant. It was lovely to talk. I mean, I'm a big fan of her work, and it was really nice to talk to somebody with such sort of insight about books and asking such interesting questions. So she was brilliant. Yeah, but there's other. I got one review on Goodreads, which was, or Instagram, I can't remember, which was. Nothing happens and the dog dies. I did have to sort of say, well, the book does take place over 30 years. It's very,
so that is going to happen. Yeah.
So a lot. There's a much wider scrutiny, which I hadn't been used to. Because it was a very small readership for my first novel, and very generous. Most people have been really kind about the books, but it's really interesting to come up in quite a sudden rush against people who don't like it. And of course people don't like your books.
It's subjective, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it is a bit of it was a bit of a baptism of fire to suddenly have lots of readers going, well, somebody thought I was showing off it was because of the language or something like that, So it's been a really interesting process as well as a really lovely one.
Yeah, I think when you put yourself, it's like putting yourself in the public eye. You're there to be shot at or shot down.
That's right, and I bet you know more about that than I do.
Yes, and it's something that the individual has to, we have to grow a really thick skin, and we have to deal with it.
Yeah,
we have
that's
to,
right.
we have to deal with the pros and the cons. But to balance that out, though, I will say, Waterstone says it's bold, it's undaunted, and richly imagined. So there's,
Nice.
I can balance that out with what they say. So.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely, lovely book. As I say, I'm only up to page 191, so I'll be taking this back with me to finish it off because I'm hooked in now with this. So, and have you found your vocation now? Will you go back to art now, Lulu, or is this it now for you?
Writing is the thing I felt like it's what I should have always done.
Yeah.
I've always loved books, but it never occurred to me that I should be a writer because I was an artist. It was like I've drawn all my life, I've done art all my life, and that was just such a natural progression that I didn't consider anything else as an option. But I feel different about writing. I'm so scatterbrained by nature. I jump around from things to things. It never occurred to me I would have the patience to write a book.
The staying power, yeah.
Love it. I absolutely love it, and I don't want to do anything else. I'll keep doing art, but that will be more of a sort of side.
It's taking a back seat. It's taking a back seat.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I teach art to a really lovely online group, and and I do all sorts of things here and there. But writing's the thing for me.
Yeah. And quite rightly so too. All of the plaudits that you're getting are phenomenal, and from acclaimed writers as well who kind of know what they're talking about. So that's the critics you should be listening to. And now we know the audio book is already out. Sorry, the paperback book is already out, but the audio book has just come out, hasn't it, Lulu?
Yes, it has. I think just a few days ago. It sounds really fantastic. I haven't listened all the way through, but they've picked a really great artist to do the voice. I can't remember her name, I'm afraid, but she's fantastic. And I'm really pleased. It's lovely to have that. I think that's probably a result of the Women's Prize long list as well. So it has huge benefits. Really, really does.
Oh no, it's great to talk to you. I'm sadly we haven't got time. I know you do a lot of work with RISE, the domestic abuse organisation as well. Yes. I mean, I can give you 60 seconds to just tell us a little bit about that, if you wouldn't mind, Lulu.
Yes, I did a project over lockdown called Hatterdays, which was making a hat from scratch every Saturday from what I had in the house. And it was a fundraiser for RISE because of the kind of horrible increase in domestic violence that lockdown entailed.
Yeah.
And I'm always very happy to support them. I mean, they're a great charity. All of the charities, they're doing such necessary work.
Yeah.
And
but that one, like you say, is highlighted domestic abuse. It just flashed on our screens. The ratio that shot up was just, it was just alarmingly petrifying. So that's it's a RISE is a fantastic organisation for that. It really is. Yes. Lulu, good luck with Salt Lake. I'm sure you don't need it, but good luck with your next book as well. That you're going to.
Thank you very much.
And great to talk to you.
And you, thanks so much.
A pleasure, thank you. That's Lulu Allison, author of Salt Lick. And even though it does say that, it's a compelling fable of decline, a lament for a way of life, and a warning about what society is already becoming, can I just bring your attention to what Lulu was just saying there at the front of the book? She dedicates it to her daughters, and it says, the future is beautiful. So no matter what goes on within this book, the future is beautiful. I guess it's down to us as individuals, isn't it, as human beings, is to find the beauty within the ugly. That's our challenge in life, isn't it? To make the most and make the best of what we can do.